Now, Facebook, Apple, YouTube and Spotify have all taken action to remove material produced by the American radio host Alex Jones and his right-wing website InfoWars. Alex Jones is famous for creating or repeating conspiracy theories and counts Donald Trump as a fan. Some of his theories have got him into legal trouble. He's repeatedly claimed that the Sandy Hook school massacre was faked and that the 20 children who died were child actors. Parents of the children killed have filed a lawsuit against Jones for making this claim.
Sandy Hook is a synthetic, completely fake, with actors, in my view, manufactured. I couldn't believe it at first. I knew they had actors there, clearly, but I thought they killed some real kids. And it just shows how bold they are that they clearly used actors. I mean, they even ended up using photos of kids killed in mass shootings here in a fake mass shooting in Turkey. So, yeah, or Pakistan.
Well, in the build-up to the US presidential election in 2016, he perpetuated a theory that senior Democrats were involved in a paedophile ring involving a pizza restaurant in Washington, D.C., which became known as the Pizzagate conspiracy.
Okay, so this video was on the nightly news on Thanksgiving. John Bauman, one of our investigative journalists, put it together. It's 5 minutes long. I'm going to air it in about 4 minutes. And the headline is, Pizzagate is real. Only question is exactly what is it? But something with codes is going on.
A follower of that conspiracy was later jailed for firing shots into the restaurant in question. Jones has since apologized for promoting Pizzagate. Since founding InfoWars in 1999, he built a vast audience. Among the theories he has promoted is that the 9/11 attacks were staged. He also claimed that the American government was putting chemicals in the drinking water supply in order to turn the population gay. The basis for that theory was a study from the University of California, which found that a species of African frog could change from male to female when exposed to a certain pesticide. But Jones didn't just tell the story that frogs were changing gender. He claimed the US government was deliberately creating homosexual amphibians. He's also a passionate defender of his right to free speech, as we can see now.
I'm animated. I'm alive. My heart's big. It's got hot blood going through it fast. I like to fight, too. I like to eat. I like to have children. I'm here. I got a life force. This is a human. This is what we look like. This is what we act like. This is what everybody was like before us. This is what I am. I'm a throwback. I'm here. I've got the fire of human liberty. I'm setting fires everywhere, and humans are turning on everywhere.
Well, all but one of the major online content-sharing platforms have now banned Alex Jones in the wake of Apple's decision to remove 5 of Jones' podcasts. Jones immediately took to Twitter to hit back at the tech platforms, accusing them of election meddling and claiming that both the EU and China are behind the move to have his broadcasts removed from social media.
I don't think President Trump has been compromised, but he's compromising himself one way or the other if they don't make this the central issue. This is the central issue. This is the heart of the matter. This is the core. This is it. They're making their move now. I'm quite honored I've been chosen as the first they want to take out, because you always take out the biggest and the strongest up front. But I want to see you rally and defeat this. Newswars.com. Spread those links. Newswars.com. They can't stop you.
Well, we can talk now to Robert Sharp from English Pen. It's an organisation that campaigns for free speech. Also, Karen Robinson from Democrats Abroad, which is the overseas body for members of the US Democratic Party. And we can also talk to Neil Heslin, whose 6-year-old son was killed at Sandy Hook. He is suing Alex Jones for defamation because of his claim that the deaths were faked. Thank you all very much for joining us. Neil, how do you feel when you hear what Alex Jones says about Sandy Hook?
It's disturbing. It's hurtful. It's disrespectful to my son. It's disrespectful to myself also. But you know, the lies and the remarks and the comments that are made, you're targeting people at their most vulnerable and their lowest time in their life when they've lost a child. And under such a publicized event, and it's totally wrong. There's no justification at all for it. It's bullying. It's hateful. It's just not right.
We've heard about families of who were caught up in Sandy Hook being harassed as a result of what he's said. Have you or your family been directly impacted?
Yeah, there's a broad range of harassment that I'm aware of. Being online harassment, whether it's emails, blogs, posts, personal confrontations. The list goes on and on and on. There was a woman in Florida who was a follower of Alex Jones, as she claims, and she acted out with death threats towards individual family members of the deceased from Sandy Hook. So, to peddle these lies and the propaganda of a conspiracy theory, it's just a dangerous practice.
He's now been banned by lots of online platforms. What do you think about that?
Well, I think it's something that should have been dealt with by the social media platforms and online platforms long ago. The damage has already been done. The damage is there. Much of it's irreversible. And but I feel these social media platforms, they have a responsibility and an obligation to uphold a standard or to have a standard and to allow bullying and conspiracy theories or hatred and that on their platform. It shouldn't be tolerated, and it's just not Alex Jones. There's many other people out there who peddle their lies and propaganda, but he's definitely one of the major players out there.
Stay with us, if you will, because I want to bring in our other guests now. Karen, Alex Jones has perpetuated several conspiracy theories about senior Democratic politicians. How significant a figure is he?
Well, a few years ago I would have said he was a non-entity, but unfortunately he has the ear of the President of the United States, so we have to take him seriously. The important thing about Alex Jones's wholly offensive oeuvre of conspiracy mongering, hate-filled rhetoric is, first of all, it is wholly untrue, entirely non-factual, and not just controversial, provably non-true. The things that he's talking about did not happen. We have plenty of evidence that none of these conspiracy theories actually took place in anything like the form he's talking about, invented out of whole cloth. They are defamatory, so they are attacking individual people with, as you point out, extremely disturbing allegations that are wholly untrue. Pizzagate being just one particularly pernicious example, which it just completely made up out of whole cloth. They took the idea that they had emails of people going to a pizza restaurant and turned that into a coded conspiracy suggesting it was a pedophile ring. There was absolutely no basis in fact for it. And then the third dangerous element is that he then publishes the personal details of the individuals that he's attacking. And his followers have been launching death threats, have been showing up at some of these people's homes. One of the Sandy Hook families, and my heart absolutely goes out to Neil. I don't know how people find the courage to so bravely go out and speak up and make their voices heard after being the victims of so much violent attacks against their own family and then being bullied and harassed on top of that. One of the families has had to move home 7 times since their son was killed in Sandy Hook, because every time they move, their address gets posted and they get harassed at their home. They haven't been able to visit the grave of their son since they buried him. So this is real damage that's being caused to real people, and it's long past time. Alex Jones was in violation of these platforms' terms and conditions for many years, so it's not a change in policy. What's actually happening is that they're now enforcing their policy against incitement to violence for the first time, and I welcome it.
So, Robert Sharp, your organisation campaigns for free speech. How do you see him being being barred from these platforms?
Well, I think where we draw the line with free speech is, or at least question whether censorship is permissible, is when it starts to violate other human rights. And that's clearly what's going on here. Alex Jones and InfoWars is violating Neil's right to a private life. He's dangerous. The people are becoming violent because of what he says. And so this is one of the occasions where I don't think we would defend the right to free speech in this case. The concerns I think that I would have, and I should say, I should bank the fact that I absolutely abhor everything that Alex Jones stands for and says. But the concern is the implications, the long-term implications of social media companies, executives sitting in Silicon Valley, deciding who gets to participate in public debate. And there could be a slippery slope when the principles applied to Alex Jones start getting applied to a wider group of people.
He is saying now we're all Alex Jones now because this is an attack on free speech.
I guess he's harking back to the Je suis Charlie thing from a few years ago.
But he'd be trying to effectively rope people like you into... I mean, you've said you abhor what he's saying, but
Indeed.
He's saying if you support free speech, you support Alex Jones.
Indeed, and it's really, really annoying for free speech activists that we have to talk about this. I don't think we are all like Alex Jones. I don't think he's comparable to other free speech activists who English Pen work with around the world, who are bravely standing up against some really powerful totalitarian forces in this country. What Alex Jones is putting out is actually quite cowardly. So I don't think that we should. I don't think we should slip into that kind of language. But as I say, there is this concern that. One thing that is also really important to emphasise is that this isn't legal censorship. The US government have not been involved in this censorship. This is private companies enforcing their own terms and conditions, which, as Karen was saying, they should have
you said
done a long time ago.
Yes, because you're concerned about private companies having the right to be the censors here, but presumably they've taken so long to do it because of the sensitivities around free speech. Maybe they should just step in a bit more quickly and not worry about that so much.
Indeed. One thing that would be really good is if these social media companies had much better, clearer, less ambiguous terms and conditions. That goes for governments as well, actually. The British government has, on our statutes, some very ambiguous laws around offence and what constitutes extremism, which creates a kind of ambiguity in the law where, and a huge grey area where fake news can flourish, extremism can flourish. And it would be good if the first thing that social medias could do is clarify their terms and conditions a bit better, I think.
Thank you all very much, and thank you especially to Neil joining us from the United States. Thank you. Thank you all.